Under the harsh noon sun of a crowded Manila street, where jeepneys coughed smoke and vendors shouted prices louder than their hunger, a barefoot boy sat on the curb with a guitar that had only 5 strings. The guitar was older than he was, its wood cracked like dry earth after a long summer, its sound hole patched with cardboard and tape. The boy's name was Mateo Reyes, and he was 12 years old. His shirt was too thin for the dust and heat, his shorts frayed at the edges, but his eyes carried a quiet ocean inside them, deep and watchful, as if he had learned early how to observe the world without asking it for too much. Mateo did not beg. He never held out his hand. Instead, he played. Each afternoon, after helping his mother wash clothes for neighbors, after carrying buckets of water up 3 flights of concrete stairs, he would sit near the old bus stop and let his fingers find the strings. He played whatever songs he remembered from a broken radio his father once fixed before the radio and his father both went silent. Sometimes it was a folk tune. Sometimes a church hymn drifting from memory. And sometimes, when the city noise softened just enough, he played the song that had somehow taken root in his heart without explanation, Hotel California. He didn't know where the song came from at first. Years ago, he had heard it floating from the open window of a tourist bus stuck in traffic. The melody lingered, haunting and warm, like a story that refused to end. Later, a foreign man who noticed Mateo playing gave him an old MP3 player with just one song on it. That song was Hotel California. Mateo listened to it until the batteries died, memorizing every rise and fall, every sadness hidden inside its calm. To Mateo, the song was not about a hotel or California. It was about being trapped and still singing. About beauty living inside sadness. About a place you can't leave, and yet somehow survive. On most days, people passed without stopping. Coins clinked into the open guitar case just often enough to buy rice for dinner. Some smiled. Some ignored him. Some told him to play something happier. Mateo nodded politely and kept playing. He had learned that the world didn't know him. Listening ears. At night, he slept beside his mother and younger sister in a one-room apartment with a leaking roof. When rain came, they shifted their bodies to avoid the drops. His mother, Elena, would stroke his hair and whisper, "Sing tomorrow, Anik. Your voice will carry us somewhere better." Mateo never asked where that somewhere was. He just believed her. One evening, as the sun melted into orange and gold, a woman stopped in front of Mateo. She was different, quiet, observant, with tired eyes that recognized tired eyes. She listened for a long time without interrupting, without reaching for her phone. When Mateo finished, she asked gently, "Do you know how special your voice is?" Mateo shrugged. Compliments made him uncomfortable. "It's just singing, ma'am." She smiled sadly. Sometimes just singing is how the world hears the truth. She introduced herself as Liza, a volunteer vocal coach who worked with young performers. Before leaving, she placed a folded flyer into his guitar case. On it was a logo in bold letters, National Talent Auditions. Mateo didn't look at the flyer until he got home. His mother unfolded it carefully, as if it might break. The audition city was far. The idea was impossible. They had no money for travel, no proper clothes, no confidence that people like them belonged on big stages. Mateo placed the flyer under his thin mattress and tried to forget it, but the song wouldn't let him. Days passed. Then weeks. And one night, after a day with no coins and an empty rice pot, Elena took the flyer out and placed it on the table. Her hands trembled. "We can try," she said softly. "If we don't, we will always wonder." They sold what little they could. A borrowed bus ticket. A donated pair of shoes 2 sizes too big. Liza reappeared like a quiet miracle, helping Mateo practice in a small community center, teaching him how to breathe, how to trust silence between notes. She never changed his voice. She only helped him believe it. The audition hall was enormous. Lights, cameras, polished floors that reflected fear back at you. Mateo's shoes echoed too loudly as he walked. Around him were children with glittering outfits, parents with clipped voices, confidence like armor. Mateo felt his chest tighten. He almost turned around, then he remembered the bus stop. The heat. The guitar with 5 strings. His mother's voice in the dark. When his name was called, the judges barely looked up at first. A famous singer. A sharp-tongued producer. a kind-eyed composer known for never crying. Mateo stood center stage, clutching the borrowed guitar. His hands shook. His voice caught. "What will you sing?" one judge asked. Already glancing at his notes, Mateo swallowed. "Hotel California," he said quietly. There was a pause. An eyebrow raised. A small, amused smile. It was not a song people expected from a poor Filipino boy with a broken guitar. The music started, just his fingers, hesitant at first. Then he sang and the first line floated out, fragile but honest. By the second verse, something shifted. The room grew still. Mateo wasn't copying the song. He was living inside it. His voice carried dust and longing, hope and exhaustion, the sound of a child who had seen too much and still chosen to sing. Each note felt like a confession. Each breath like survival. By the chorus, one judge's pen lay forgotten. Another leaned forward, eyes shining. When Mateo reached the final lines, his voice cracked, not from weakness, but from truth. He held the last note like he was holding on to life itself. For silence followed. Heavy. Sacred. Then the composer wiped his face. Tears fell openly. The sharp-tongued producer stared at the ceiling, jaw tight, blinking fast. The famous singer pressed a hand to her mouth, already crying. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" she asked, her voice unsteady. Mateo answered simply, "On the street." The composer stood up. "You didn't sing a song," he said. "You told us a story we didn't know we needed to hear." 3 yes came quickly. But the real moment came when the producer walked onto the stage and knelt in front of Mateo. "You remind us why music exists," he said. "Not for fame. Not for money. But to remind us we're human." Backstage, Elena wept into her hands. Liza hugged her. The staff whispered about the boy who made judges cry with an old song and a broken guitar. Mateo's life did not change overnight. But doors opened. Scholarships. A new guitar, 6 strings, shining and whole. Vocal training. A safe place to sleep. His mother no longer washed clothes until her hands bled. His sister returned to school months later. Mateo stood on a larger stage, lights warmer now, fear replaced by purpose. He sang again, not just Hotel California, but songs of his own. Songs about rain leaking through roofs. About hope hiding in silence. About kindness arriving when you least expect it. In the audience, people cried again, not because of sadness, but because of gratitude. Gratitude that beauty could rise from hardship. That a boy from the street could remind the world how to listen. And somewhere, at an old bus stop in Manila, another child picked up a guitar and believed that maybe, just maybe, their voice could carry them somewhere better too.